Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to Leading Edge Cricket. Today it's not a Richless Rob, it's a Rob and Rich show. And today we are going to break down the fifth test match between India and England. It's absolutely blockbuster summer stuff, Rich. And like all good films, there's a new narrative in town for the fifth test match.
What's that? Tell me, because I've missed the last test. I don't know if anything has happened, honest.
COVID-19 is in town.
Oh,
Bad guy is here.
I was hoping you wouldn't have to say that. Yes. It's really frustrating, isn't it? Because we got so close through this series. I mean, obviously earlier on in the summer, where England had to pick a whole new squad, didn't they, for some white ball. We did at the start of this test match series think that there could be an instance. I think even like Wisden and other articles actually started putting together what could be the alternative England 11. So we have avoided that, and it looks like we've avoided COVID just enough for the test match to go ahead tomorrow. I think that's what we're hearing, isn't it? So, and that's what we're reading. So, although it's around, it does look like we're good. So, what was it? India's assistant physio, Yogesh Palmer. Yogesh, what have you been doing, man? But the rest of the squad, I believe, have tested negative. Yes. So, although they've had to deal with the day's uncertainty, etc., the test will go ahead. So, that's massive, massive news. It wouldn't have been the same series. The series has been building up. Obviously, India getting a 2-1 lead now, as you covered so beautifully and thoroughly the other day, Rob. The series deserves a fifth and final test. England, I think, deserve an opportunity to come back, and India deserve to put a massive exclamation mark on it.
Yeah, they do, mate. It's good news. It's always worrying, and even though we're 18 months into the pandemic, we still don't actually know that much, and we see cases break out. There's one here in New Zealand in a church. 370 people have got it. It's in a cricket team. 2 people might get it, even though they potentially spend more time over a longer period of time together. So it's all very bizarre world that we live in still. UK did relax their biosecurity bubbles around touring teams and stuff like that. Not that that's played into it, because they've been in the country for most of the year playing cricket one way or another, especially the guys playing county cricket as well. But I think the main thing is we want everyone to be safe, well, healthy. If the test can go ahead, and it's a really good contest between the best that India's got and the best that England's got available to them, then great. Let it go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. It would have been the worst possible way to end this series. And I think even India's winning of the series wouldn't be the same if this test didn't go ahead. So hopefully that's behind us. We're on to the fifth and final test. It starts tomorrow. It's at Old Trafford. Have you seen a picture of the track? There was a sneaky picture that someone dropped on Twitter earlier.
Green?
It looked a bit mucky. It looked like it had been used.
Mucky?
It's one of the central tracks. So obviously, it's one they've allocated for a test match, but it didn't look particularly tidy.
Yeah.
Obviously, still a day's preparation to go. It probably needed a last cut and a brush and all that sort of stuff. But it didn't look a great track. And I just wonder, preempting us going into what we think potentially the lineups might be and what we're hearing in the news around that, I wonder if the look of the track might start just tempting these captains to go with a second spinner. It just has a bit of that look about it where I'm not sure. It might not need a second spinner, but just sometimes the look of a track can convince you otherwise. It's like a green top, isn't it? In the middle of a hot summer. We do get them sometimes. You'll think seamers, but it'll be burnt off by the end of the first day, and it's not a green seamer anymore.
It is very interesting. The tracks down in New Zealand often look horrendous, but then teams can go and make 500-600. So there's not actually that much of an issue with the track. They just look bad on the surface. It will be interesting. I do expect to see a result-driven pitch. Why would the ECB, other than a bit of moolah trying to make it last 5 days, why would they 2-1 down, create a track that doesn't favour English seamers? Not that the Indian seamers are bad, but you need to win the game, to draw the series, you've got to take 20 wickets. It's got to be a pitch that's capable of taking 20 wickets.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it depends what their strengths have been this year as well. At Old Trafford, though, they might have been creating tracks to take a bit of spin with the likes of Parkinson playing for them and one or two others. So, hey, who knows? And talking to Moolah, though, I'll just quickly cover back a little bit about the COVID impact. The players are flying out. There's all the players that are going to be IPL, and I'm sure there'll be some England lads involved in this, I believe, or I might be talking complete and utter nonsense. But the players playing for the IPL will be flying out on the 15th, which is the day after this test is supposed to end on the 14th. IPL starts on the 19th of September, restarts.
Wow.
So it's imminent. It's around the corner. So as soon as this test match finishes, these boys are going to be basically chucking their white pads in the bin and getting their shiny pads, whatever team they play for, all those weird coloured clothing kits. So, yeah, just worth noting, really, as well. I'm sure that won't impact the test, but it's just worth noting that how important it was to get this all clear for COVID. And obviously, they don't want anyone having to kind of, head to the hotel for too long when they get over to UAE.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And the other one, Rich, so we're talking about pitch. We've talked about COVID. You can't talk two English people together about a game of cricket without mentioning the weather. Now, the weather has been doing the rounds on Twitter.
Roasting
at the moment,
mate.
You're having a September heat wave, but Friday, let me tell you, Friday up in Manchester, grim. I'm looking now, it's grim up north.
It always is grim up north.
70 to 80% chance of rain during the afternoon session. Saturday, it's over 50% for the entirety of play. So it could be down to a 3-day test match where there's still a 20 to 30% chance of rain. So even if everything does align, we do go ahead. Someone's going to have to win this game in about 2.5 days of cricket.
Our weather gets us such a bad reputation. Honestly, I've picked the worst possible week. We spent a few days in a tent and it was stinking hot. So, we do have these weird hot spells. Other countries just call it summer. We have weird hot spells that we can't explain. And it will be really, really bad luck if basically from the end of the last test through to the start of this test has been gorgeous, and then the rain comes. But this is the risk we run. It's a relatively northern, test match. It's only probably Durham, isn't it? That's further north. And this time of year, you're going to have changeable weather. So it's all part of it. It's all part of test cricket. It's 5 days of cricket. The way they score these days, it's not like we need all 5 days to get a result. So just let's crack on. Let's get on with it. And I can't wait to see this test get underway. And it'll be disappointing if it does. We do lose too much time. But I feel like the way this Indian team plays and the way they have been playing, tails are up. They're going to play positive cricket. So no matter how much time they lose, they will find themselves at some point in this test match in a position where they can try and force a result. Whether England will bite is a completely different thing. We've seen it already. We saw it against New Zealand. We saw it against India earlier on. And we saw it in the last test as well, which I'm sure you spoke about, where I just thought that England didn't quite have that quite the right intent. It was too much of the let's just wait and see and let's see what happens later in the day. And if they have that mentality in the fifth test, which is absolute must win, there's no victory in drawing, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Well, there isn't. There actually isn't. But at the same time, you could say there is if the World Test Championship, the extra points. It's like watching Arsenal play football in the 90s, mate. It's going to be kicked around the keeper for 70 minutes as soon as they score the goal.
I still haven't quite got my head around the World Test Championship, so I don't see it as an important thing. But yes, it is something that we have to consider. I need to kind of get myself involved in that. But it just, for me at the moment, apart from the final, or when we got close to who was going to play in the final, it wasn't something that's particularly on my radar. And I don't know if that's the same for a lot of cricket fans. If people are looking at it as important after every series and every test match is played, let's get on with the championship. What? Oh yeah, okay, all right, okay.
This is just for Indian cricket fans on Twitter going with the best team in the world. This is a scorecard from the World Test Championship final done by Kit Cricket from Iceland.
Nice. Have you laminated that?
No, that's how it comes. That going up on the wall, and that puts a nail in the coffin that New Zealand in the World Test Champ. It's like England winning the World Cup at cricket, and someone going, "Well, they're not the best team." It's not the point.
Yeah, well, they were better at scoring more boundaries. That's what they were doing. So, but that's nice, mate. Let's get that frame, get it up on the wall. I've lost my train of thought there, but yeah, Test Champ. Yeah, I haven't really properly got myself involved in it. So for me at the minute, it's all about the series that is in front of you, and this series is so big. Only Ashes, in my mind, is probably bigger, but the way this series has been played, it is up there. And it's just this series. I'm not really interested in points for the World Test Championships. England have to win. A draw to see if they might be able to sneak in the back door of a Test Championship in a year or so's time is not something that's particularly important to me at this moment in time. And I'm sure a lot of England cricket fans would be thinking the same. So I just want to see, to make sure no matter what happens in this next test, that there is a bit more of a positive intent. And we don't just start with, let's see. I understand that, coming into on the evening of the fourth day, with Hamid and Burns, they made a fabulous start, didn't they? That's the point where you go, let's get through to the end of the day. And because they did, was it 77 for none or something like that? Or
Yeah, it's a
Where
fantastic
yeah,
start. Yeah.
yeah, where we got to that were then right next morning, we're up and running. Let's go. And I don't mean go banzai, go running down the field trying to smack everything out the stadium, but just play with that real intent. So you're not just clinging on to see if you're there at tea time, because as we see, every time we play in that intent, we're probably not there by tea time. It's all just about done by tea time.
That is very true, mate. So what changes have England rung for the squad for this 5th Test match? Because we knew some were coming.
Yeah, I mean, Leach was sort of in the squad last time, wasn't he? He was sort of on standby
most of the year.
Yeah, but it was like unofficial. He's officially in the squad, but not with the squad in the last one. But he is officially, I believe, back with the squad. But he will only play if they choose to play 2 spinners. Yeah. Ali, Roots called him his first choice spinner this week. 6 wickets at 49.83 in 3 tests. We love Moeen Ali. But if he's our first choice spinner in world cricket at the moment, I think, not world cricket, in England cricket, I think we are struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to Moeen.
Don't you think it's a little bit like the Ashwin situation, where the best spinner on both teams isn't playing just to balance out the batting lineup of both teams?
It's odd. Yeah. I mean, obviously Stokes, and just to touch on Stokes, he's not been named in the England World Cup squad at the moment. So that's a big one. Preliminary squad should be added, but he's not quite ready for his return yet. But because we lose one player, the whole makeup of the team has to change. Jack Leach has lost out playing 5 Test matches this summer because Ben Stokes isn't around. If Stokes was available at 5, then I think Leach has played a couple of Test matches ahead of the likes of Moeen Ali. So it's a strange one, but so Ali's definitely going to play. Obviously, Leach is back in the squad. He might play. There's no other tweaks with the bowling. There's no Mahmood, as far as I'm aware. Dan Lawrence is still, he clings on to his spot. And Jos Butler is back in the squad after his wife gave birth to another little child. It'd be weird if it was anything other than a little child, wouldn't it? Some parts of sentences are just pointless. So it's a really weird one. I think the England top 4 stays as is. Burns, Hamid, Milan, Root, obviously. Pope's got to keep his place, hasn't he? At 5?
You go first.
Well, I think Dan Lawrence, no disrespect to Dan Lawrence, I think we can wipe him out of this conversation. He's not going to play unless something drastically goes wrong in the squad. So the options really, if Butler comes back in at 6 and Ali is at 7, Wokes is at 8. Let's lock those in, shall we?
Yep.
It's Pope or Bairstow, because Butler is back in. He's the vice captain. That's what Root said. He's back in the team. He deserves to be back in the team. Doesn't matter if he's only scored 72 in 5 innings at 14.4, Joe. Or that Johnny Bairstow scores 184 at 26.28 in 7. So, I think Pope, he scored, was it 81 or 83? For some reason,
81.
81. I thought he played really, really well. Obviously, we spoke a lot, and you spoke about the fact that he averages 100 at the Oval. I'm sure it's not just the Oval where he can score runs. We spoke about him earlier on this summer. He's a feast or famine type batsman, isn't he?
Yeah. If
he's going to score your runs, he's going to go pretty big. 80 odd is nice, but it's not massive. But in test, compared to what he's doing in first class, it's big. I come back to Pope. What worries me though, Bairstow is in and out, and he's turning into. I think I saw someone today just compare it to old school Graham Hick, constantly in and out of the team.
Yeah,
you need to at some point make a decision of what Johnny Bairstow is. I thought the fact that when he got the gloves and he's done okay. I did chuckle about you saying that he averaged 37 with the gloves, and in his first innings he got 37. I mean, that's what you would expect, isn't it? That's his average.
That's Bairstow with the gloves. And let me be clear, mate. In the last 5 years of cricket as wicket keepers, Jos Butler, when he's got the gloves, averages 32. Johnny Bairstow, when he gets the gloves in the last 5 years, averages 30. He averages more than that overall, but the last 5 years it's slightly down. But Ben Foakes averages 31, and some of them runs were scored in Sri Lanka in difficult conditions.
Yeah.
So I actually don't think there's that much difference between the quality you get from each person. It's just, I think they like Butler because he can go bang. And if you're in a chasing situation, which we've seen England not try and utilise at all lately, he's the guy that you'll probably back to try and do something special.
Yeah. Before I get you to, I'm going to force you to make your decision at 5 in a second. But before I do that, do you think Bairstow will be kicking himself if he does get dropped? Because he's made pretty much a start in every innings, but he's not gone on. I'd imagine that 37 is probably his highest score this series. You might be able to tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. I've not got it in front of me. But he's got to be frustrated. He's not. I mean, Root did make a comment about the fact in the first innings, a lot of people made starts for England.
Yeah.
You know, top order kind of imploded, didn't it? But then Pope obviously anchored the innings with his 81, Wokes with his 50. And then Pope, Bairstow, Ali all made starts, 20 odd, 30 odd, whatever they were. It's just, it comes back to Bairstow. It'd be disappointing if he's dropped in some ways because you've got to stick with these people. But he's got to come in and take a chance at some point.
Yeah.
I think Butler's fortunate, to be honest with you. I think it's good, because he's vice captain, it's good for him because he's going to come back in. But I think just on form, even with the gloves, he's not really done enough to warrant removing Bairstow. So for me, it's Pope. But come on, who are you having in there between Root and Butler?
I'm going Pope at 5.
Yep.
Spoke last time. He struggled with his technique. He changed his technique in India, went from nicking off to LBW, and this is the first time you've put him in that comfort environment, and he's looked good in Test cricket for a long time.
Good to see as well. Sorry, just quickly, just good to see as well. They were talking about how he's gone from this stupid off-stump guard back to middle.
Yeah.
What is the obsession with this off-stump guard? I will not understand it. Sorry, carry on, Rob.
No, it's a valid point. Bairstow will kick himself. 184 runs at an average of 26 is the second best for England this series. Scores is very Johnny Bairstow. He's gone 29, 30, 57 2, 29, 37, 0. So he's been good without being great. But you could look at any England player over the last 4 years while we've had the worst batting we've had in a generation. And someone averaging 30 in a series is what you expect from someone doing well for an English player, unfortunately. And he's ticking those boxes, but he's just not done enough to keep his spot. No. If he'd scored an 80 or he scored a 50 in the last Test match, then I think it's a different situation because all of a sudden he's averaging 35 and you're like, well, that's elite for us. But he's not quite there. And I just don't think England see any additional benefits to Bairstow over Butler. And the thing with Butler, and I was going through his stats in a little bit of detail. Strike rates for English batsmen from 2019 to 2021. The average is about 48, 49 that we score off. Bear in mind that Keaton Jennings during that time scored about 24. You've got Sibley scoring at almost a record terrible rate of about 30. But Root, Stokes, Pope, Crawley, Wokes, Roy, Curran, Broad, Adil Rashid, Bairstow all have a better strike rate than Jos Butler during that time. Now, Jos Butler's just above that average, but it kind of dispels the myth that he's this gun player that scores 100 or 50 balls in one-day cricket, which he does. But in the Test match arena, his strike rate is about 51. And over this last 2 years period, it's all right. It's all right, but it shouldn't be the reason why we select him, is what I'm trying to say.
No, that's fair enough. He will come back in. When he comes back, I really hope that Root and Silverwood and the management go and take Butler to one side and say, right, we've seen what England have done for Rishabh Pant. Yes, he's not been a success in this series. He got his first 50 in the last Test. Really pleased to see that. 50 then literally got so carried away, danced down the track and got out next ball, which I thought was prime Rishabh Pant.
Yeah, it was.
Love the guy, but it was also quite hilarious. I would love to be able to get out 50 every innings, by the way. I would be happy with that. If he comes back in, then they need to say to him, you need to play your game. You are arguably one of the finest white ball cricketers, one of the finest strikers of the cricket ball, one of the finest shot selections and shot options that there are as attacking batsmen. Play that way. I'm not saying go charging from first ball, but he has to play that way. Otherwise, I don't see the sense. And you've illuminated that with fantastic stat there. He's not the player. He's not Jos Butler in the Test side. He's Joseph Butler.
Yeah.
Scotland Joseph.
Boy, he got full named.
He's not full prime.
What do you think about the bowling attack, mate? The seamers.
It's a weird one. If you'd have asked me a couple of tests ago, I'd have said at some point we need to rotate. But there's no way in the world we can now. So I'm going to lock in Wokes at 8 because Wokes is quality. He's got his 50 and he took 7 wickets. Was it 7 in the game or 6 in the game?
Definitely 4 in the first.
Yeah, so I think it's 7 wickets in the game. excellent return. When he got his first wicket in the first innings, I think I tweeted man of the match, Chris Woakes man of the match incoming.
Yeah.
And then he got his 50 and I was feeling very smug. And then stupid players like Rohit Sharma and Shardul Thakur and Jaspit Bumrah just played sensational cricket and made probably Woakes fourth or fifth in the man of the match ranking. So if Woakes is in for me, Robinson and Anderson have to play. Robinson, 21 wickets at 21 in 4 tests.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Awesome. Yeah. Anderson, 15 wickets, probably a little bit low for Jimmy, I'd say. 15 wickets at 24.66 in 4 tests, but he's obviously knows how to get some important players out, namely one's called Virat. Now, they have bowled 166.2 and 166.3 overs, respectively, Robinson and Anderson. That is a ridiculous workload. I think I saw on one of the highlights what I was getting caught up on, Isabel Westbury, who basically points out that Jimmy Anderson has bowled more overs in this year than he has in the previous 2 years combined.
How interesting.
It's a workload.
The exact same stat I pulled together last night.
Oh, I've just smashed it out of the park ahead of Rob. I'm so sorry.
No. Don't be wrong, because it's true. It's a huge workload.
Crazy.
And the whole series we've gone, you've got to rest Jimmy at some point. And it feels too big a series with too much on the line to be able to do it.
There's no way in the world Robinson and Anderson can be rested, in my opinion. So Woakes is in there. So you're looking at that number 9, if you want to say it's number 9. And I think Overton's done okay. Overton, he can bat. He got the odd wicket, didn't he? But he's played pretty well, I think. He's played better than I expected. He looks like he's settled into Test cricket.
Yes.
He's somebody that I think has got a part to play over the winter. Which, with the build he's got, the height, all that sort of stuff. I think he's got a real good part. Also, good slip catcher. He's took some catches. England killed themselves in this last Test match with dropped catches and missed opportunities. 4 catches dropped in the first innings, and I think 2 or 3 at least in the second innings. Sharma was dropped twice. Burns didn't see one. Rob?
for everyone listening, Rich was batting away at Bramcote one day. We were 4 down for 20 in about 6 overs, and Rich got caught on the boundary. And
I'd been knocking it around all right.
Didn't see him. I didn't see the man on the boundary in the white gear against the green grass.
No. There was a fielder stood in front of the pavilion where all our lads were sat around and some stood, and he was stood mixed in between them. And it was only when he started walking off the boundary to catch me. I was thinking there's a lovely little easy punch down the ground here for 4. Didn't control it, caught on the boundary, didn't see it. So brilliant. Rory Burns didn't see it. That's fine, Rory. I've got no problem with that, but it still go down to the drop. I was still out, so tough luck. But missed opportunities. Moeen Ali missed run out. I was stupid. And why he didn't just wait a fraction of a second and then underarm it to the approaching Bairstow. But I digress. If you look at this bowling attack, and for me, Wood is probably the man that's got to come in. He's got 5 wickets, and was it in the first Test of the series? He's obviously had the niggle since then, but he's fit again now. Yeah. I think this England attack needs pace. It needs something else. What worries me is if the pitch does look like it's going to spin and they play Leach, because I don't know then how to get the right balance of this seam attack. So for me, it's Woakes, Wood, Robinson, Anderson. I think Overton misses out. Did you see Overton's dismissal as well in the second innings?
I did, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
He basically got one on the bottom of his elbow that went on.
Oh, he did, yes.
And it was just after they took the new cherry as well.
Yeah.
And there's not many times when you see a replay where you go, "Ow!" But that was definitely one of them. That was a
I think I agree with you with the teammate. Jimmy and Robinson's your main 2 men that you've got to go with. Yeah. Robinson's been outstanding. 21 wickets, an average of 21, strike rate of 47 is world class. The importance of Chris Woakes to this team is so big. No man's got 47 wickets in the last 3 years at an average of 22. More importantly, and I think this is what puts him in the world-class Test category for me as a bowler, strike rate of 46 over 3 years. Pat Cummins has got a strike rate of 46 over the last 3 years. Stuart Broad's been exceptional, especially with the new ball over the last 3 years. 91 wickets at 22 with a strike rate of 50. Jimmy's got a strike rate of 62. Chris Woakes is so pivotal to the balance of this bowling attack, and also with the depth that he gives around the batting as well. So I think that's how England need to line up. I can't imagine this is going to be a 2-spinner pitch, especially with the weather that's around.
Yeah,
I do agree. You've ideally go with Wood. unless it's the most overcast conditions you've seen, and it's going to be like that for 5 days, in which case I go with Overton, which gives you an English seamer, which we saw did well in the third test match, I think it was. And he gives you a little bit of depth with the batting, which you might need in these situations. And it kind of lines up to a very similar situation like the fourth test, where all the batsmen are getting mediocre scores, and then Shardul Thakur just comes in and smashes it and butchers all form out the window.
Yeah, I mean, just for me to have a little say on Shardul Thakur, that was a couple of the most sensational innings, wasn't it? I mean, for the impact of the game, Rohit Sharma deservedly got that man of the match, because this India test win in the fourth test was built around that top three of Sharma, Rahul and Pujara. Pujara's under pressure. Rahul's almost like he's been under pressure the whole series. But the three of those guys combined built the most solid foundation for Kohli to go and play some shots on and others to go on. And then obviously Pant and Thacker's 100 partnership in the second innings. But his knock in the first innings meant that instead of a huge hole, they got to 191. It could have been 130, couldn't it? 120. England still had a lead of 99 or 100 or whatever it was. It could have been 130, 140, 170 even. But Thacker's innings, I don't know if you said it or not, but his 57 off 36 balls was the fastest 50 in Tests, beating Ian Botham's record.
No, I didn't say that.
That was an impressive performance. He nearly scored as many runs in the test match as man of the match Rohit Sharma.
Yeah,
he was only about 20 runs short of it.
To me, he was man of the match, mate. His
impact
2 moments
was incredible. Yeah.
Put them in the position for Bumrah, and Sharma's 100's incredible, and scoring 100's an incredible feat. But it was the timing. The call won the 2 biggest moments of the test match for India, where they could have just lost the test.
Yeah, I mean, he got the wicket of Pope in the first innings, didn't he? For leading score for 81, and then I think he may have. Did he get Root in the second innings?
I can't remember who got.
He got a key wicket in the second innings as well.
Yeah.
Again, apologies, guys. I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of test match. I've been getting caught up on it earlier today. But he was just sensational. Just everything I've saw about him. I obviously watched the first couple of days, and everything I saw just was brilliant. What an inspired selection to get him and Umesh Yadav, who I also thought bowled really, really well in this game. It probably takes us in nicely to India, unless there's anything else you want to just touch on.
I just wanted to touch on Root and the importance of Root and the year that Root's having. So he needs 26 runs to take over Michael Vaughan as the most runs in a test calendar year for England, which is an absolutely exceptional thing. And let's make an assumption that he does it this test match. That means he's done it in 1 less test. And if he bats twice, 1 less innings as well. So that's quite incredible. He averages 121 runs per match, 63 runs per innings. That's not his actual average. They're just the amount of runs that he's scoring during that time. And if you break that down, take England batsmen from the year 2000 onwards, Joe Root's 121 runs per match is the highest of anyone that's played 5 test matches in a calendar year. 3 above Ian Bell's legendary, not talked about enough, 2011, and 6 above Alistair Cook's incredible 2011 as well. His average of 63.26 is the 7th highest of an English player during that time. It's just an incredible year, mate. And he's carrying this team beyond belief. The one stat I've not got on the thing here, and I did work out, was the percentage of runs that he'd scored. And during this series, he scored 29% of England's top 7 runs. That's a ridiculous stat. Rohit Sharma's been incredible. He's scored 18%. The next lowest is Johnny Bairstow, who scored 9%. So he's 20 points higher than the nearest England player that's contributing to the cause. I'm not saying we're a one-man top to 6, but we're witnessing something pretty special that, other than Ian Bell's 2011 and Cook's 2011, is up there in the top 3 greatest years we've had as an English batsman.
Yeah, I mean, there's not enough that can be said about Root. And obviously there's still, after this test, there's potentially another, it'll be 4 test matches in this calendar year.
Yeah.
The 5th obviously starts on the 2nd of January, doesn't it, usually in Australia? So he's smashing records. He's not just going to break them this year, assuming that the Australia tour does go ahead. He is a one-man batting lineup, let's be honest. He is at the moment. But this England batting lineup has gone through a bit of transition. Pope's come back in the team after missing a little bit. Milan's only just come back in the team. He's only had 2 tests, got his 70-odd. Last game, he wasn't quite as convincing. I liked your point about the fact that his run out, Burns and Hamid have done exceptional for me at the top of the order. Burns looks like a player with much more confidence now. He's playing with Hamid rather than getting bogged down, waiting for Sibley to try and get a run at some point, somewhere. Hamid is busy. He's rotating. It was great to see them put another 100 stand on. That's 2 century partnerships in 2 test matches for that pair since they partnered up together, which makes a mockery of him batting at 3 in the second test, which we joked about. Well, we called a joke at the time. It's brilliant. Burns is doing okay. He's got a couple of 50s, hasn't he? Same as Hamid, a couple of 50s. I noticed as well, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I noticed as well that Hamid has faced 446 deliveries, which is only, I think, 3rd behind Root, 929, and Burns, 483. So, he's obviously played much less cricket, but he's faced the 3rd most deliveries. And that is so important for England. We need a foundation. And those 2 at the top of the order are providing that. And they are actually scoring some runs as well, which counts. It's not just about occupying the crease. It's about scoring runs as well. And those 2 boys at the top are doing that. So they're looking increasingly solid. Milan, hopefully he grabs the opportunity in this final test of the series, and hope Pope kicks on again. Root, though, 564 runs by far by either team, isn't it, in this series? I mean, he's already man of the series, surely. Even if he's on the losing side, I think he's got to be man of the series.
What the hell not, mate?
Exactly. Let's get him in. So, I mean, just capping things off, Sam Curran is also in the England squad. I don't see an opportunity, or I don't see a place for him unless there's an injury perhaps to Wokes, because they are obsessed with that bowler that can bat. And Sam Curran allegedly can bat still.
Talking of bowlers that can bat.
Sorry, I'm joking. Sam Curran, I really like him.
Sam Curran averages the same as Mark Wood with the bat in the last 2 years, mate.
Mark Wood's looking good with the bat as well last 2 years.
Just saying.
Last year, yeah. Sam Curran he's basically nosediving both his stats with the ball and with the bat.
Yeah.
Or should I say he's going up the hill, isn't he, with his bowling stats, and he's down the hill with his batting, which is the wrong way around. Yeah,
he's in a pretty poor run of form in red ball cricket. Did well in the IPL, not quite translating across.
Yeah. So India then, Rob.
Yes.
I mean, strength to strength, isn't it? They could do what they want in this test match. They, as you said in the last pod, they don't, the batting is still not quite 100% there. They've got a makeshift number 5 in Jadeja. It doesn't sit right. It doesn't look right. They've done that to try and force him into a bit of form, protect Pant a little bit. Rahane is a strange one that he's moved down to 6. There's big questions around that. But just before we come look at the batting, let's have a look at the bowling, because I think that's can impact a little bit on the batters. You look at the seamers, Thakur with his runs as well, and important key wickets, he's done enough to play. Bumrah, I shouldn't even have to speak about him. He's arguably the best seam bowler in the world at the moment. That spell in the second innings when Jadeja was going at one end and he was going at the other was just outstanding, was ridiculous. And when we say ridiculous, we mean unreal, amazing. Just the best.
It was world class. It's the best bit of reverse swing bowling I've seen in England conditions probably since Simon Jones for me.
Yeah, full and fast, fast, straight. It's all you're asking for. Basically, England should just be watching that video when they look back on mistakes they've made at earlier points in this series. I'll just politely put it that way. So Thakur's got to play. Bumrah's got to play. I thought Yadav played a good game. So that's 3 of the seamers. Shami was probably their best seamer up until he was rested.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say Siraj is the man that has to sit out. Now, I like Siraj. I've been entertained by him, but he seems like he's just sort of in the background at the moment, last couple of tests.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's tiring a little bit or what it is, but he's just not had quite the same success. So I wonder if they might make that change where Siraj goes out, Shami comes in, and it does further solidify the batting. Which could then allow them to make an option, potentially, if you wanted to take Rahane, you could even play an Ashwin, for example.
You could well do. There's talks that Siraj has got a niggle, so he might miss out anyway. There's also talk that Bumrah might be rested, but I can't imagine. It's like us resting Jimmy. You just wouldn't do it in a big test match.
I don't want to speak for the fine people of India and the Indian cricket fans, but I would imagine that if England win this test and Bumrah has been rested, there will not be happy Indian cricket fans at the end of the next test.
Absolutely.
If they drop he's on. I mean, he hasn't even got a run up. What are you resting him for?
Yeah.
He's fine. He just walks into the crease. He bowls. He's got a shorter run up than half the spinners I've seen. Just play him. He'll be fine. He can put his feet up after this.
Yeah. I do think the Shami resting, given they won the test match and him coming back in for this test could be a stroke of genius, because Shami's average over the last 2-3 years, he averages 20 with the ball, which is up there with being the best in the world, particularly around taking the new ball. And you know how much we slagged off Ishant Sharma for how terrible he was with the new ball in the third test match. He averages 20 with the new ball bowling between over 0 and 16 with an incredible strike rate over the last 3 years. And I was shocked how good he is with the new ball to see how poor and ineffective he's been this series. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, he's one of the leading wicket takers ever for India, so it certainly seems. It's a strange one for Ishant Sharma, but big fan of his, but he just hasn't brought it this series. Shami, I think, is an exceptional bowler, especially in these conditions, and I think they've got to find a way to bring him back in. If Siraj has got a niggle, it probably explains why he's not quite been firing. He's not been quite the same Mohammad Siraj from the start of this series. So that'll be interesting to see. And if he has, then why play him if you've got someone like Mohammad Shami that can just roll into this team and just go wild? You'd have just a quick one. He got his 150th wicket early in the test. I think it was the night watchman Overton's dismissal. He's only the 6th Indian seamer to get to that record of 150 test wickets. So Umesh Yadav is just sneakily, quietly climbing that chart as well. So, and again, that's another reason why I think you just cannot drop him or Shardul Thakur, who I thought both had exceptional test matches. And it was just an inspired bit of selection, wasn't it, to bring both those boys back in.
So Ashwin, Jadeja is the main conversation, eh? If they go with one spinner, who do you pick? And I'm going to throw some stats your way. So 2019 to 2021. So you're talking 3 years test cricket, mate. Ashwin, 71 wickets at an average of 20, 4 5-wicket hauls. Axar Patel, 27 wickets at an average of 10, 4 5-wicket hauls. Jadeja, 29 wickets at an average of 32 with no 5-wicket hauls.
I mean, Axar Patel just had England's pants down for the whole of the winter of the test matches over there, and he can't get on the field. We spoke about this before. If Axar Patel was an Englishman, he would have played every test so far.
Yep, he would.
And it's an embarrassment of riches. They could persevere him at 5. I wonder if they remove Rahane from the firing line. It's not the end of the road for Rahane. He's an important player of this squad, but they've got ahead. So now's the time to win this game. And you do that generally by taking 20 wickets. Ashwin comes in. He can bat at 7 if you want. Pant can go back to 6. He's just got a 50. He's finding a bit of form again. So you keep the Jadeja experiment going at 5. You bring Pant back up the order at 6, and then you bring in Ashwin at 7. And then you've got 8, 9, 10, 11 of Shardul Thakur, probably Shami, then Yadav and Bumrah. Bumrah would be the best 11 in Test cricket if he's sitting at 11 now. He's gone from being, I think, are you sure he wasn't left-handed before? At least trying to bat left-handed. And he suddenly realised he's right-handed.
He averaged 3 before this series.
Yeah. Whoever his batting buddy is, whichever batsman in this Indian Test squad is his batting buddy, needs to be snapped up as an IPL coach straight away, because clearly they're going to be the best coach ever. But yeah, that'll be some lineup. And I think the fact that Shami coming back in helps solidify the bowling batting, if that makes sense, which would then allow Ashwin to come in for example, Rahane, which wouldn't be something that you would have thought would occur until Jadeja stepped up into a 5 spot, perhaps. So a bit of shuffling the pack going on there. I don't think there's going to be any other outsiders coming in. That top 4 for India now, there's been question marks all along, hasn't it, for Rahul and Pujara. I think they've kind of quelled those questions. I just want to, Rohit Sharma I've already spoke about. I think he's had an exceptional series. He's just a joy to watch. Virat Kohli is on the verge of a score. The last 3 innings, he is looking better and better. He got 44, didn't he, in the second innings after getting 50, following on his 50 in the third test. He's very close to putting it together. I think he was talking about people getting obsessed with stats. That's up to them. They'll never go anywhere. And I can understand what he was kind of his little dismissal, what he was trying to say. Quality, class is permanent. And he's starting to look like Virat Kohli again of a few years ago. And it would not surprise me in the slightest if they get, if they're put in first innings, if he walks away with 150 or something in this test. Yes. So, it doesn't feel like a huge put my head on the line or neck on the line here, but, Virat Kohli to score a big score. But with the form he's showed over the last year or so, it had seemed a long way away, but it looks very close now.
I think that's fair, mate. He's looked good. He got 55 in the third test, 50 and 44 in the next test, 42 in the second test.
So it is those drives.
He's just starting to look really good and looking like he can score runs quite easily again, which is quite important for him. Over the last few years, he has had a little bit more of a rough time. But during that rough time, mate, he's still, 2019, 2021, he still averaged 40, which is, we've seen for England, is incredibly difficult to do. So it's just expectations of, because once your ceiling's set to a certain standard and you average 54, 55 in Test cricket, when that average comes down to 50, it's because you're not doing as well. Kevin Peterson for ages averaged in the 50s, but I've got him into the conversation.
Can we have a podcast
47?
Can we just go 1 week with? I saw you crowbarred it in last week as well. Can we just go one pod without you mentioning Kevin bloody Peterson?
Kevin, you're always on my mind. We'll always have that reverse sweep off Moeen for 6.
Good Lord!
One man around the top 4 for India that I do think needs a huge mention is Pujara, and I've been looking into Pujara because he was struggling so much. And I don't know if you remember, he played in county cricket, and he played that incredible knock where he scored like 9 off 200 balls to save a match. And I don't feel we've seen him click out of that. Now, over the last 3 years, his strike rate is 37. And out of players that's faced a minimum of 1,500 balls in Test cricket, it's the second lowest. And I just kept saying he's getting bogged down. And then we've seen him come out in the third test. He scored 91 at a strike rate of 48. The fourth test match, he scored 61 at a strike rate of 49. It's positive cricket, putting away the bad ball. Now, 2 things might have happened. One, I think he's going, right, I've got to score some runs. I just can't keep batting time. But 2, I don't think England's bowled as well to him in general, and he's been able to capitalise on some wayward deliveries. But mindset shift, experience, and he's doing it really well. He's starting to look like the Pujara that everyone fears, not the Pujara that's averaged 30 over the last 3 years.
Yeah, he the last test or so, he's really found that really nice balance between helping set that foundation, as I spoke about earlier, but also scoring at a better rate. It's what we spoke about, the whole thing with Sibley versus Hamid and Hamid and Burns. He put away this, he looked really strong square of the wicket. He was putting the bad balls away again, like Hamid. It wouldn't surprise me if there's been a little bit of an influence or an inspiration from Hamid to Pujara. That might seem a bit bizarre statement, but he's seen somebody that's trying to be positive, especially square of the wicket. And Pujara was doing that. A lot of his runs were scored, cover point and behind square third man region. He's played really well. And you just hope that he maintains this sort of freedom of mind where he doesn't start slipping back into that, oh no, I can't get out. I need to make sure I don't get out. He needs to keep playing with his freedom of, I need to score runs, because that's how he's going to stay in this team. Because as soon as he stops scoring runs, he's out. As simple as that. I think he's almost on a test match basis, test to test basis, isn't he? Or even at the start of the next series, whoever India are playing in the next test series, he'll be up for debate whether or not he keeps that spot. So he's played well. And Rahul as well, you just can't fault him, can you?
Yeah, I was about to say, talking of a test match series basis, I was going to mention KL Rahul because he's been brilliant opening the batting in terms of the statistics that he's been able to put together this series. Just looking for him now, 315 runs at an average of 39 opening the batting in England is exceptional. He came into this, and for all purposes, this should not have worked. It averaged 26 over the last 3 years. Which is not very good. And as an opener, he'd only opened in about 3 games during that time. And this just shouldn't have worked. You've got Agarwal on the sideline, who averages 48 as a batsman, opening the batsman since 2018. 3 centuries, 4 50s, strike rate of 54. You imagine him opening with Rohit Sharma, who scores at a strike rate of 55 over that time period. it's a different game. But KL Rahul, just every single match, he's just doing enough to make the importance of what he's doing to this Indian team. And I don't think he's the best opener they've got. He might be the fourth best opener they've got. But he's just the right man for the job on the right occasion. And it's a cap off to you, son, because you're earning it. You're earning it.
I mean, exactly. He got the opportunity through Agarwal's injury, didn't he?
Yeah.
What a bad time for Agarwal to get injured. You know, you would expect, again, you know, Agarwal and Ashwin, every test we expected them both to be in. But as the series has gone on, it's seemed less and less likely that they're going to make any change. And I'd be shocked if they make a change in that top four. Simple as that, isn't it? Just a couple of things. I assume that's us kind of pretty much wrapped up on England and India of what we would expect. What sort of things you're looking forward to in this last test? You know, who's the players, who's the key members of each team do you think that's going to take this forward?
I'm really I'm interested to see what the selections are going to be to work out what teams are trying to do, because we talk about Manchester and we're talking two spinners, but out of grounds since 2017 that take spin, he says looking for the average.
Talk amongst yourselves.
And I can't see the average in the notes that they've got, but it's not quite as spinners do take wickets, but they can go at runs. Not many teams have come over here and taken and used two spinners. It's been quite a while since they've seen the benefit of that. And likewise, Seamers averaged 28 with the ball there, which is, we talk about how good a batting track the Oval is in the UK. The Oval average is 28.69 for Seamers. Old Trafford's 28.09.
No, it is going to be interesting. I mean, the only reason I mentioned the spinners, because when you look at a track, sometimes you can be dragged into thinking it's something that it's not. And that's my little concern. I really like Jack Leach. I rate him. We would have had a night watchman moment in this last test if Jack Leach was playing. We would have had some Jack Leach enjoyment. But sorry, I'm out the ear there. But it's just not going to work, I don't think. With the balance of this current England team, it's just not going to work if Leach is in. So I really, really hope that it's not a two-spinner pitch. I'm trying to find a way of getting Ashwin in the team for India. India is the one I'm more interested in. I don't think there's going to be any surprises for England, but if there is a surprise, it could be that Bairstow's in over Pope. And that's not a huge surprise, but I'd just be a little bit surprised after the way Pope's come back in. And I think I would be surprised if Wood doesn't make a comeback as well. Bowling, I need to see that there's some life in the legs of these England bowlers. Wokes is going to be fine, Wood's going to be fine, but Robinson and Anderson are key. And I need to know that they're going to keep running in. And it's going to be a tough one. If we get out there again for another 148 point whatever overs it was that India put on in the second innings, then Robinson and Anderson, you may as well take them straight down to the yard, retire them in there. I just want to mention as well, Hasif Hamid returning to Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a young player, he came through the ranks at Old Trafford, straight into the first team at a very young age, got himself a tour to India, scored a few runs, and then he just had disaster, basically. I think he averaged 9 in a summer for Lancashire. He now returns to Lancashire, to Old Trafford, and I think he's so determined to score runs. He's made 2 60 odds, hasn't he? 68 and a 63, I think it is, if I'm right. I'd love to see him go and get 100. And if Burns and Hamid can keep progressing this opening partnership and they can keep doing what they have been doing, and I'll take 100 partnership every game if it means, if that's what we get from them. But I'd just love to see Hamid return to Old Trafford and get himself his 100. It would just be something special, wouldn't it?
That's the best redemption story as well. And, we've spoken about Jos Butler and his ineffectiveness as an England Test cricketer. Just wouldn't surprise me at Old Trafford if you saw Jos Butler come in, refreshed, new baby, go and score some runs, put in a decent performance, because it kind of changes mindset a little bit, some time away from it. And I think it'll be a really good thing for him. From India, the one I want to see is if they pick Ashwin, how Ashwin performs, because for the whole series, we've got the best spinner in the world not playing cricket, and I think that's a shame for people watching, to be honest, because you want to see the best players.
I do as well. Yeah, absolutely agree. I'm really looking forward to see if Thakur can do it again with the bat, because at the minute he looks like one of the finest players the world's ever produced, and that's not taking the mick. It's just he's looked incredible. Yeah, in that last game. So it's all about that bowling attack and how how the makeup of that attack is, isn't it? Really, I think if Shami comes in, he'll have a really good Test match as well. But yeah, Ashwin, we'd just get him in, guys. Come on. I'm sure we've got a direct line here to the Indian selectors. You're all about to go to bed. It's 8:30 on the night before the test match. Come on. Just knock on his door. Tell him he's in the team tomorrow.
Last point on spinners. Moeen Ali, 195 test wickets. Needs 5 to become the third English spinner to take 200 wickets.
Wow. And he just went ahead of someone, didn't he? So he's behind. I know Swan's in second place.
Swan's got 255. Derek Underwood, 297.
That's the ones. Yeah, that's it. I think I even took a photo when I was watching this on TV earlier.
Yeah, so it's set for a blockbuster finish. Hopefully nothing comes out after recording this to when the test match rolls around and we can go ahead. Hopefully we might not get much play on the first day and a half, but hopefully we're going to get 3 or 4 days of decent cricket and the opportunity for what has been a blockbuster series between two fascinating cricket teams go head to head one more time. And I can't wait. Last bit, the important bit, the prediction. I'm going to put it out there. India win the series 2-1 and this is match drawn.
Okay, yeah, I think all I want to see in this test match is a positive result. Indian cricket fans will obviously be more than happy, I'm sure, with a draw. But I would like to see a positive result one way or the other. I'm going to say an England win because England have to win. And as I've said before, the third test when England did win, when England have to win, they tend to find a way of winning.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they necessarily deserve it. I think India have been the better side this series. And anybody that thinks, he's a homer, I don't necessarily think England will win, but I think because they have to win.
Yeah.
They have to win. It's simple as that. So
pull it out.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say the same thing again. Yeah, England win, and I'm not convinced because I'm obviously talking around it and I can't stop talking. So my mind's just going, England win, but I'm not sure of it.
Okay, so we're going to England 2-2, India 2-1.
Yeah.
You guys let us know what you think in the comments below. If you are brand new around here, make sure you subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, check us out over on the YouTube channel as well. We're nearing in on 1,000 subscribers, which for small people like ourselves is a pretty good achievement, and we're quite proud of it. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Can't wait for the test match. We'll be back for a review in about 4 or 5 days' time once the rain has hit and it's finished 2-1 India. We'll see you then.